This is coffee number 5. I'm your host, Lara Schmoisman.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to coffee number 5. And today I was thinking, I'm always thinking, and I'm those kind of people that my mind goes faster than my fingers sometimes. So sometimes I'm thinking and I give notes to my team so I don't forget, or I record audios even for myself because my mind can go so fast. But today I was thinking about trajectory. And trajectory is such a difficult word. I know, mostly for the ones we don't have the natural sound, but also it's about legacy. It's about doing something beyond yourself. It's something that when you have a trajectory is because you've been there, you've done that, and you learn from it. It's such a big word. So today I'm so inspired. Monica Botkier, but I said it so good before and now it's bad. It's Botkier. Monica Botkier is here with me, and which I found inspiring. So welcome, Monica.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and I mean, talking about trajectory, I mean, you're an amazing example of the trajectory that you had as a business woman, and you still have, because you keep, how I said, recycling yourself.
Yes, and creating. And I think the interesting thing about the word trajectory is that, there is momentum there, and that's not something that you can control all the time. I think we like to believe that we can, but the truth of the matter is that once you get, whether it's inspiration or connection to something, and you start to go, it propels you, and then you're on a trajectory that you don't always know where you're going to land. And so I think that when you're starting out in a business in particular, I can say this now that I successfully founded a business, ran it, sold it, exited it. Can you say that? Exited it.
I
And
think
then
you can.
trying to find passion and inspiration all over again at perhaps a different stage in life, and getting the courage to jump back in.
That's but I was about to say that because it takes guts, it takes courage. After you did something successfully and then decide you're out, you were successful and starting something again, that might go well or not, because you never know when you start something new.
This is true. I think that for myself, being a creative person and leading a lot through product, and basically I find I'm successful when I make something that I actually want, because I think that I represent a good amount of women customers. And so therefore, the creating it is the thing that pushes me. So I'm not afraid of making it or taking an idea from your brain and bringing it to life. That's the most exhilarating, fun. I feel like that I know how to do. I think what's different each time is how you get it out there to people. And the business itself can be very different. Like my original business, Botkier, was one of those kind of beautiful moments in the early 2000s where I got it into Barney's almost immediately, and it launched the brand.
Yeah.
And I had, celebrities wearing it and all kinds of things. The explosive nature of that business, that's the kind of, like, I couldn't have planned that trajectory. I could have planned into it, certainly, if you're creating a business plan and looking at kind of a long strategic road, but I couldn't have planned that kind of astronomical growth and success off the bat. So then it was more about fielding it and trying to keep up with it and not lose yourself in all of it. And
But
then,
you're also authentically one of those people that they're right, left side, because you are very creative, but also you're a business owner.
yes, but the more experience I have, the more I realize I am a startup person. And basically the turn nothing into something is my sweet spot. There are people who are scalers, people who can take something, into the mega huge company. I feel like I am really the startup person that can bring it to legitimate brand and perhaps a little bit beyond that, but the super scaler, I don't enjoy that. That's not what my superpower
So
is.
let's talk about this superpower, and that is the startup, because startup is hard. I mean, start with some funding or no funding and start from scratch and surround yourself from the right people. That to me is key in anything you start. You call it a marketing agency, a brand, whatever it is. You need to have the right team. You alone, you cannot do it.
No, you really can't. And I think that you have to really dig deep and see who's around you and work with those people that are going to be those supporters. I mean, I guess some people are really measured and plan from the very, very beginning, every single thing. But I think you have to be nimble, you have to be open, and also spontaneous, take advantage of opportunities that may show up. But really, truly, you have to be driven by passion, and you have to be unafraid to follow that in a sense. So I don't know. I mean, I think I go back to like, this is no different to me than art school, project due. Like, okay, this is what my vision is. I'm gonna figure out how to put it together and present it. And nothing brought me more joy than the project. No matter what, I was always excited about making something and bringing it to life. So in theory, because I'm working on consumer goods. So with Botkier, it was leather bags because I was craving this very particular bag. It started with one bag that I couldn't find anywhere for the price I wanted, and it had to function a certain way. So the idea of bringing all of that together and getting it to exist in reality was the best.
But
And then
but today you're with a new brand that is
yeah. So fast forward
absolutely
to today, and I have a fantastic partner. So she's a really big part of, her name is Olga Kapustina, and she comes from apparel design,
right.
and she is very much a product person as well. So, but even more so, she understands material. So we're working in a sustainable way with merino to create lingerie that's plastic free, and it's zero waste because it's done through innovative knitting technology.
You
So
guys need to see it, please. You have to look at it's so unique, her line, and so eco-friendly. But I mean, you guys go to the website, look at it, because it's really incredible, and it's truly different of what it's out there.
it really is. I mean, I will say that even the design direction, number one, I think Olga and I work really well together in terms of creating something beautiful and covetable. So it is luxury, but it's also approachable. And it performs merino wool. She taught me all about the dynamic properties of wool. So it's brilliant because thermoregulating means that when you're in the hot weather, it actually will cool you off, and vice versa. Everyone thinks that it's only warming, but it's actually cooling. It's antimicrobial, it's moisture wicking, odor resistant. It's the perfect material to have close to your skin. And we've been able to develop this without spandex or nylon. So there's no plastic leaching into your body. There's no plastic when you wash it, leaching into the water system. But it is washable and dryable. You should treat it a little bit specially, but not to a point where, I kind of just toss it in, and I try to be mindful to take it out of the dryer before it's fully dry, but it doesn't matter if you do. So it's
But
easy.
let me ask you a question. You have an idea, you had a concept, you met your partner probably by then. Where do you start? Because we have so many of our listeners that they are business owners trying to get these startups out of the ground. And where do you start? Comes the money first? Come the idea first? Because I mean, a lot of people are, you guys, we're going to have another podcast. I promise I'm going to be bringing someone from the financial space
Yeah.
as well. But in many regards, of course, you need money to start. That's not a
You need
surprise for
some
anyone.
money. I mean,
Yes.
yes, some money, but with my first business, it was a small loan from someone close to me at the time just to make samples. And I was able to build that business on wholesale. And that was a different time though. This time around, we're self-funded up into a point of lifting it out of the ground. And now, in order to actually take it farther, we definitely will have funding, and we're working through how we're going to approach that. But in the meantime, we've birthed it ourselves. And, I think a lot of people have ideas, and I think a lot of people talk themselves out of pursuing it. For me, you have to make the product. You have to prove the product if you're doing something like this, right? I mean, I'm always product based because that's what my love is and my interest is. So to make that product, you have to prove it to yourself. You have to fall in love with the product that you're making, because how can you sell it to anyone, investor or consumer, and everyone in between, if you don't love it and you don't experience the benefits of it? So
But
that's number.
also you need to understand that making a product is not going to be the first product that works. You're going to have
No.
a lot of
Yeah, a lot of iterations.
yeah.
And it can take many, many, or it can just take a few, but you're always thinking about improving it. But I think that what's more complex today is that the marketing is also very important. And that also takes a big lift in terms of money, creativity. What are you trying to say? How to engage the consumer? There's a lot of noise out there. So there are many, many layers of getting the business out of the
Yeah,
ground.
and I'm gonna say this because you guys know that I have no filter about it already. And I feel like in a lot of entrepreneur business, they are right now, I don't know why there is so many consultants in this space or coaches that at the end of the day, I've been seeing that they are the only ones who make money without getting any tangible goods. I'm not saying that all the consultants are bad. I'm not saying that don't work with them. I'm just saying, do your research, but also make sure that if you're going to be working with a consultant, what are you going to get at the end of the agreement? Or that you're going to have different steps. Consultants are great. I mean, they are, if you get someone super specialized in what you're doing, but ask questions.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I think that the business of coaching has exploded. And so you can be coached on every single aspect of your life. And it is pricey too. There's a commitment of time, there's a commitment of money. I guess you have to align yourself with someone that you think you really look up to what they've done, and there's synergy enough that you feel you can learn from them. But ultimately, I think that one of the bigger markers of success is also your network.
Yep.
To be able to lean on your network, to be able to feel supported by your network. And it doesn't mean you have to be completely plugged in, because, I mean, of course, that really helps. But even to be able to get in front of people and make a connection or two, sometimes, if you have a coach that perhaps is connected to somebody that can work well for you. Advisors are also important, but I do think you have to choose wisely, because, I've gone down the path here and there where I've engaged, and it's nice to have a support. It feels like you have a person in your corner, kind of like your own personal team to help you realize your dreams. But at the end of the day, it can be very formulaic, and you have to kind of see what's working for you. And I would say choose wisely, but you're absolutely right. There's like a massive business
Yeah.
of.
And I've seen it so many times lately that when product, and this was triggered by what you said about marketing. Marketing is a big expense in any business. And
Yeah.
it's something that many times when people are developing products, they're not accounting for.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and so when they get to me after they have the product, they have no budget for marketing. I can tell you, people that you can get through a friend or a friend of a friend, you reach out and there are a lot of advice, people that they will talk to you for free. And then, I mean, it's not that you can knock them all the time, but they will have a conversation.
Yeah. Oh, I do that all the time. Sometimes people will reach out to me because they want some advice on something. And, I like to give, obviously, it's not going to be a multiple meetings, but, definitely half an hour chat about, I love to give people direction. I recently actually was doing some consulting myself. Sometimes I do it as well, of course, but, and I had to give somebody some really harsh advice that going they were putting the cart before the horse, like building out all of this stuff financial plans, marketing plans, all of this, but they never actually made the product.
Yeah.
And I know you can do it that way, really depending on the product. But I also felt like in this particular, the scale of this business was not going to be huge, and the product itself needed to be realized, I thought, in 3D
Well,
form
I
in
think
life.
from the marketing standpoint, like for example, someone asked me for a quote the other day, to pitch them our services. I say, sure, but I need to know more about your business. They told me, they sent me a request for a proposal, which it had a lot of information on where they want to go, but I knew nothing about the product.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't realistic for me to put a proposal. I said, I don't know if I can get you there. I know nothing about the product, haven't seen it.
It's true. I mean, I think what's wonderful today and what's different, let's say, starting a business today than 20 years ago is that actually the barrier to entry is a lot lower. You know, the word entrepreneur applies to a lot of people now. Before, it was a very specific person that would even allow themselves to even take that leap, right? So now, and then, you know, you have it commercialized like Shark Tank and some of these, they're really great companies that are coming out. So there's a lot of inspiration, and a lot of people are seeing alternative ways to make a living and express their, you know, desires for what they want out of their professional lives. And, you know, in a lot of cases, help people or bring something wonderful to market. But it's a very full-on ride, and it's nonstop, and it is the beginning is very hard. It's every little piece. You do need to find some kind of a team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel what's really fascinating to me now is this current business, Chosen Woven, that I've started with Olga. We have a partnership. So that is nice to have someone to lean on and someone to divide, you know, and conquer with, in a sense, right? But when I did it before, I was alone. And I had some, you know, very supportive people around me. Not to say I was like completely alone, but it's a different um understanding. And then the team that you build slowly but surely, that is a huge,
And
huge,
when you talk about team, you're talking not only your assistant or you got you when you build a team, is the factory that is working for
yeah.
you. It's packaging, the agency, marketing, whatever. Those are your team. It's not necessarily your core team.
Exactly. And a lot of it is fractional too. If you can bring somebody in once a week, twice a month, you know, to help support you in a particular way, that's who you have
Yeah,
to
as a
find.
startup, you don't need more than that,
No.
but you need to get that specialty. I'm part of a group that I'm fractional. It's a fractional community actually, and that's how I build my. I always call it that we're like a fractional agency because we help as a whole team, but in fractionally.
Yes.
But because I totally believe in the fractional needs. Not everyone needs a full-time team.
Yeah. Yeah, that really works both for companies and for contractors, basically, because you have freedom to do whatever, you know, multiple jobs you want to do, and it allows the company to have support without having to be able to afford the full-time support at that moment. So I think it's a win-win. I think people are more flexible these days to work in different ways. So
Yeah, but also it's super important to understand about the foundation or whatever you do. Because from the beginning, have all your legal docs in a place, in a row.
yeah, the
Uh,
admin. Ah,
yes, get all your admin, all your
yep,
shipping. I mean, what you need to be
logistics.
prepared. You can
Mm-hmm.
always need to be prepared. What happens if you have an order or a large
Absolutely.
order? Can you deliver? You need to have all those answers in place. I see in business failing because things happen and they weren't prepared to deliver.
Right, right. Well, I can understand, you know, I'm definitely one of those people that I'll say yes and I figure it out, you know, and I would say 9 out of 10 times it does work out, you know,
Yeah,
but it's risky too. It's
yeah.
certainly risky. So
Well, I'm a yes person too, but
yeah,
but I think with experience and over the years, we learn just to have a contingency plan, at least in our mind. We know, I'm come also from the production side, so I'm always contingency after contingency. What happened is a rainy day? What happened if this? You always have a plan. So that's how I was trained. But you always need to have a foundation to know that you know who you go to if you have those questions or you have those problems. I think the worst thing is if you have a problem and you don't know who to go to.
Right. No, this is true. If you can't solve it on a quick moment, it's a problem. So
Yeah.
you have to have backup. You have to have plan B. You can't really give up.
No, you can't.
You go into business.
I love
just,
that you say that, because sometimes in an entrepreneur world, you feel like this is not working. And
oh yeah,
because you're so stressed about the money you put in, that is your seeding money, that when you start a business, you need to understand this was my seeding money and I put it in. Now we need to make it work. And if it
yeah.
doesn't work, what do you do if it doesn't work?
Yeah, you have, well, I do think it's important to know when to walk away from something. But you also have to know yourself well enough to understand that those really tough days, they're just tough days, and that you'll get through it. And just listen, listen to the feedback, listen to the encouragement, listen to the tiny wins, and let them build up as you push through. Because even if your business is flying off the ground, you're going to have a manufacturer have some kind of delay. There might be, a weather problem. Somebody is screaming at you because this wasn't delivered or there was something wrong with the stitching. I mean, it is never not a problem.
Yeah, and you need to be prepared even how to deal. This is conversation I was having today actually with my team, that we always need to be ready and train our clients also how to deal with a bad review,
Oh, yeah.
with a bad comment. You need to learn how to, as a company, you need to be prepared for that, because that's
100%.
how you react as a company to a bad review or to a complaint from a customer is super important.
It is true. And I'm also a stickler for uniform branding, so all communications look a certain way and come across a certain way. So that is definitely my pet peeve.
Oh,
Our
we're true. They are, that's totally my pet peeve for all my clients.
Yes.
But also I think it's a lot of people, they don't think that this is marketing, but how someone answers an email to a customer, that's marketing too.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. You have to have a little bit of a personal touch. The customer has to feel taken care of and cared about. I mean, trust me, I've gone through a lot. And in the very beginning, like right now for Chosen Woven, Olga and I field all that stuff ourselves. And I did that 20 years ago with Botkier in the very beginning too. And then when you hand it off to people or an agency, I mean, an agency you feel better about, but when you early steps, but not very, very beginning, when you hire somebody to take care of it, still like letting go, it's your baby, it's your face
Yeah.
on something, right? So
But
you want to
But
control.
I sense this also from the agency point. I mean, I'm super respectful of my clients and their branding and their guidance, but sometimes as an agency, and because we take data, we can see a lot in the data that
Mhm.
it's a missing piece. And I see a lot of the founders also so in love of what they want to communicate with their clients
Yeah.
that maybe something is missing there. So we need
Oh
to
yeah,
be
you have to
always
be.
in open-minded, also because the trends change. And also as the trends change, like for example, for your brand, it could be becoming very popular with a sector that you weren't
Yeah.
expecting.
Oh, totally. I think we're trying to keep our eyes and ears open all the time to see if there's movement in something. And we're kind of starting to find um, the demographic is maybe a little bit different than we thought. And there's also um, the idea of pushing into certain markets and things like that. So being aware of all of it at all times while trying to develop new products, while also pushing into new sales channels. And um, marketing, communications, all kinds of, content to be creating and campaign and e-com imagery. I mean, it's a tremendous, tremendous lift. So you have to, in the very beginning, and actually for a long time, you have to really you have to look over it and be part of it, and then eventually like trust to let some of that go.
Yeah,
let
and
the
even
go.
when you're in established brands, sometimes you need to
Yeah,
refresh a little because
you do.
otherwise, like we do a lot of email marketing, SMS marketing. You
Mhm.
cannot always say the same thing. You need to refresh it once in a
Yeah.
while.
Sure. And I think you need to be conversational. You
Yeah,
should be engaging, but it's hard from within the walls of your brand when you are sort of so inundated with your mission and your aesthetic and the control of all of that. It's hard. But if you're like lucky enough to have an amazing partner or agency or creative outside, they can guide you, and you should listen because
that's idea at the end of the day, that you as an entrepreneur, business owner, you can run your own business and what you have to do as a business owner. So, and not having to be stuck doing the little things like answering an email or doing an Instagram post.
totally, totally. That's definitely, it's hard to weigh because your hours are worth more.
Yeah,
You're planning and growing the company, but then on the other hand, you have to figure out where your cash goes. So
exactly.
time management is the big one for sure.
Totally big. So what's next for you?
Well, right now, Chosen Woven is just a, wonderful opportunity. We want to get this thing to be huge because we really feel like everyone can benefit. It's also healthy clothing close to your skin. So it's an important movement. It's good for the environment, it's good for your body, it's beautiful. And we want to be able to be in multiple categories. We see swimwear opportunities as well.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and really to crack the athleisure, code there because that clothing is so heavy with plastic and chemicals. And I'm sure you've been hearing a lot about there've been some class action suits and things like that. So, we have a long way to go, but our beginning is very bright. So right now the focus is here. And then I'm also a mom of three. I have one in college and two in high school.
Oh,
So
I know I have the same ages, so I can tell
you
you.
do?
Yes, I can tell you. You think that it's gonna get easier? It doesn't.
I would just say that the one in college is like wonderful and easy, but the two at home are, um, you know, they're younger teens, so they're
Well, once a mom, you're always a mom.
yes. Yeah, and that takes a lot. When I started my other company, I was not a mom yet. So I had a couple years of total focus, and then, I was lucky enough to have some wonderful help along the way. So now it's just different, different time all around. And I'm really grateful for the time that I've been able to lean in with them over the last 5 years while I was sort of in between um startups, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it. So yeah, I'm just going to keep on pushing and make sure everyone understands that merino undies, bras, anything close to the skin is the absolute best material. And we want to really grow this brand. The key word for me, I thought of a word for 2024 in the new year, and that word is expansion. So, that means heart expanding, that means business expanding, that means finances expanding, opportunities expanding, experiences like just, open to all things and growth.
I love that. Well, Monica, thank you so much for having coffee with us today and
Thank
sharing so much of your journey and sharing all this piece of advice that you don't realize how much it means to me and to everyone, because you can learn so much from others and from experience and from this incredible journey that you've been on.
Well, thank you for the conversation. It's always nice to, put in perspective and meet other people on their journey, swap experiences, and really learn from that. I mean, I think learning keeps us always excited, really, and
And
inspired.
and and on our toes. I always keep me on my toes. Okay. Thank you
For
so
sure.
much.
Thank you.
And to you guys, we will see you next week with more coffee number 5.
Find everything you need at laraschmoisman.com or in the episode notes right below. Don't forget to subscribe. It was so good to have you here today. See you next time. Catch you on the flip side. Ciao, ciao.